Welcome back to Cinema Clips. Grey's Anatomy has introduced us to countless patients over the years, each with their own unique stories that tug at our heartstrings. Some of these patients have left such a deep impression that they've become unforgettable, shaping the lives of our favorite doctors in the course of the show. In this video, we're diving into the 10 patients that every true Grey's fan will remember. These are the cases that challenged the doctors, moved the viewers, and left a lasting legacy in the halls of Grey Sloan Memorial. If you're ready to relive some of the most emotional and impactful moments in Grey's history, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. Starting off at number 10, we have Kyle Diaz. Kyle Diaz was a musician who was living with multiple sclerosis, and while in the hospital, he fell hard for Stephanie Edwards, who was a surgical resident at Grey Sloan Memorial Hospital. She tried to resist him, but his charms eventually won her over.
Well, it's gonna be one hell of a first date.
Stephanie cared for Kyle, but struggled in their relationship due to the intensity of his illness, and she eventually chose to end things. Kyle wound up back at Grey Sloan Memorial with meningitis, but they reconciled briefly and he tried to convince her to come with him to his European concerts. Sadly, Kyle never made it through surgery. All Stephanie could do was watch from the gallery, helpless, as he slipped away. Kyle hadn't just won over Stephanie, but viewers as well, and most were sad to see him go. And at number 9, we have Andrew Langston. Andrew Langston was dared to jump into a vat of cement in a construction site by his friends in order to impress the girl of his dreams, Lola. He was brought into the hospital completely encased in cement and almost didn't survive the experience. Although it took the efforts of several surgeons to save his life, Andrew's story did have a happy ending. Not only did Andrew live to tell the tale, but Callie even convinced Lola to stop caring about what her mean friends would think, and he finally gave in to her feelings for him. At number 8, we have Jeremy West and Beth Monroe. Jeremy West and Beth Monroe first met while receiving treatment at the Mayo Clinic and grew close while attending the same cancer support group. Their connection deepened and they reunited when both decided to join Derek and Meredith's clinical trial. Fully aware that their time was limited, Jeremy and Beth didn't want to let their lives end without embracing the love they had for each other. Tragically, Jeremy became another casualty of the trial.
I'm at death. 11:47.
Leaving Beth heartbroken. However, Beth became the first successful candidate of the trial, and while she struggled with the loss of Jeremy, surviving the trial allowed her to help others facing the same battle. At number 7, we have Mary Portman. Mary Portman and her husband Bill came to the hospital so Bailey could perform a colostomy bag reversal surgery. She was told she couldn't have her second surgery because she needed a blood transfusion first. She hadn't eaten anything for quite some time, so she asked her husband to get her a pizza. And everything went crazy.
Tour guide, I'm a surgeon, okay?
Bereaved husband Gary Clark walked into the hospital and started shooting people. Mary was trapped in her hospital room with Bailey and Charles during the incident. In a gut-wrenching twist, Mary survived the shooting, just to later lose her life following the procedure that she had originally gone to the hospital for. The surgery seemingly went off without a hitch, but Mary never woke up. And at number 6, we have CeCe Colvin. CeCe was inadvertently responsible for taking someone's life after passing out behind the wheel due to her health issues. Nisha was driving the car that CeCe hit, and she suffered tremendous guilt over the fact that the other woman didn't survive.
So sorry, she didn't make it.
I killed that girl. That poor baby girl.
And CeCe was a professional matchmaker with an 85% success rate, so she took an immediate interest in Meredith's lack of a love life. Finally ready to attempt to find romance, Meredith was actually somewhat receptive. Sadly, even though she convinced CeCe that she deserved to live, in the end, Meredith couldn't save her due to a power outage during surgery. Coming off at number 5, we have Nick Hanscom. Nick Hanscom was one of Lexi's first patients. He had a huge tumor removed from his carotid artery. He was left with just a small flap of skin covering this very sensitive area. Nick and Lexi quickly developed a good rapport. Lexi examined him several times that day. When she came into the room upset, he asked her about it. He joked with her and started to laugh.
Hey.
Stop that, loser.
While he was laughing, his artery burst, spraying blood all over Lexi. She did everything that she could to save him, but sadly, it wasn't enough, and Nick passed away. At number 4, we have Bonnie Crasnoff and Tom Maynard. These two were victims of a train crash that flooded the hospital with patients. Their case was unique because they had been impaled on a metal pole together. The pair were joking, bonding with each other right up until the end.
You have very nice pores.
Unfortunately, there was no way to save them both, and the patient with the better odds of success was Tom. In a heartbreaking moment, Bonnie asked that Derek be the one to tell her fiancé what happened. When the two patients were separated, then life began to drain from Bonnie immediately. The other doctors rushed to save Tom, but Meredith refused to abandon her. And then Bailey stopped her and called the time of death for Bonnie.
Anything we can do, we have to let her go. Time of death 3:49.
And at number 3, we have Jake Burton. Jake Burton came to the hospital with a brain tumor, which had been caused by his incredibly severe case of Leonidas. Derek planned on resecting the tumor, and Mark suggested that, since the patient would be under anesthesia anyway, he might as well attempt to remove the growths from his face. This would make the 15-year-old look normal for the first time in his life. In a soul-crushing turn of events, Jake did not survive the tumor resection. Thankfully, Mark was still game to perform the other surgery with Alex and Christina assisting. Jake may never have been able to see his new face, but his parents wept in gratitude. At number 2, we have Beatrice Carver. Beatrice Carver had been diagnosed with cancer. They took her into surgery to remove some of the mets in her lungs, but they found that they'd adhered to the chest wall, meaning she was terminal. Despite being diagnosed with terminal cancer, she was intent on hiding her fate from her daughter, Amelia. Keeping the secret was so important to her that she even attempted to check out of the hospital against medical advice to celebrate her daughter's birthday. It was Alex who convinced Beatrice that she needed to be honest with Amelia before it was too late. In a beautiful but heartbreaking scene, she told her daughter the truth. However, she did more than just explain how sick she really was. Beatrice gave her all the advice she would have given her over the years, knowing that she wouldn't have much more time to do so. Finally, at number 1, we have Denny Duquette. Denny had been a patient of the hospital for a long time. He had been diagnosed with viral cardiomyopathy, which caused his heart to fail. He came into the hospital when a transplant became available for him, and it's during this hospitalization that he met Izzy Stevens, who was an intern in the hospital. The two of them flirted, but she ultimately had to break the news to him that he wasn't getting the heart, so he was discharged and left.
He didn't get the heart.
He came back into the hospital later due to heart failure. They stabilized him in the ER and then admitted him. While hospitalized, Denny experienced shortness of breath and chest pains. His heart failure was getting worse despite medication. When a heart became available for Denny, he was prepped for the surgery. After surgery, he marveled at having a regular heartbeat. He was stable in his room, but later that night, he threw a clot off his incision and died of a stroke. Thanks for joining me on this heartfelt journey as we revisited the stories of some of the most unforgettable patients in Grey's Anatomy history. These characters left lasting impressions that affected both the doctors at Grey Sloan and all of us watching at home. Their struggles, triumphs, and sometimes heartbreaking endings are a reminder of the show's power to connect us with the deeply human experiences of love, loss, and hope. If you enjoyed this walk down memory lane, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more in-depth explorations of Grey's Anatomy series. Let me know in the comments which patient story moved you the most and what other topics you'd love to see covered. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.